Basically, when I was 13, I worked with my dad in the automobile industry, and he taught me a trade. And when I was 18 years old, I got my own dealer's license, and that's when Chris and I started dating. Uh, we got married when I was 21. At that time, I had a little bit of money and thought I had a lot of money. And we were terrible stewards. We weren't worried about anybody but ourselves. Uh, we went out to eat when we wanted and went on to the coast, and we blew
Did a lot of shopping.
Did a lot of shopping. But we went through that, and we wound up about $50,000 in debt on credit cards and car payments.
Yeah, growing up, I was given credit cards to go shopping. Never worried about where the money came from. Never, ever. So when we were first married and, we felt like we did have some money, it was just what I was used to. And then when it got so difficult for us, when we got ourselves in so much financial trouble and in so much debt, it was tough. It was very difficult. It wasn't the lifestyle that I thought that I married into. It wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted. I don't think anybody wants to be broke, but it was difficult on us. If we don't fight often, but if we, did argue, it was about money.
Is the only thing.
It was about the only thing. I would tell him, look, I need diapers. We had 3 babies at this time. And I'd say we've got to pay the electric bill by 5 o'clock today or it's going to be cut off.
We would get up in the morning and she'd tell me what we needed, and I would pray, and I'd rebuke the devil because I was afraid, didn't know how I was going to take care of my family. And I'd get the truck and I'd go to Gonzales, I'd go to Cuero, Nixon, San Antonio, and I'd drive around. I bought junk batteries. That's what I did. I bought junk batteries and radiators and things like that, and that's what I would try to make enough money that day to come home and say, here, babe, here's $100, go get groceries. And then the next day she'd tell me what we need, and I'd drive around to a different location. I went into the bank to finance a car for Chris. My banker had told me that he would finance it for me, and when I called him and told him I found one, he told me to come see him, come see him first. So I knew something was up. And so I went into the bank, and I found out he could not loan me money for a vehicle to get Chris a car. And not only could he not do that, but he could do no more business with me. My world came to a screeching halt.
He dropped our line of credit.
He dropped the line of credit that we had that allowed us to buy cars and allowed us to do business as we knew it. If you're overdrawn 3 days a week and you owe IRS and you hadn't filed, and IRS is calling, writing letters to the bank or levying your account, I can't blame them. I mean, it's pretty bad.
And that was what we felt like the worst day of our life. He left the bank.
I left the bank crying. I went to my banker and I apologized. And apologized for letting him down and for digging myself the hole and being as so bad about being responsible with financial decisions. And I left the bank crying. And it was a totally new day for us.
A huge wake-up call.
It was a very pivotal moment. I thought it was the worst day. At the time, it was the worst day I'd ever had in my life. We didn't know what we were going to do. We were totally... At that time, and right then, that day, we became 100% dependent on God for everything. In between there, after that, we started understanding that everything God blessed us with was His, and the blessing was coming from Him. So we continued to pay our tithe, even after that happened. Even living day to day, if we made $400 that week, we paid God.
And at this time, we were realizing how important it was to pay our tithe, and
it wasn't. We weren't doing God a favor. It was a joy, and it was an honor and a privilege. That's when we learned it was a privilege and an honor, and it wasn't just a responsibility. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to give back unto God what He has allowed us and was allowing us to manage or to handle. But it was God's money, and when we started learning this principle, the next 3 years, they were rough, but God opened doors, and God took care of us, and He led us into things, and He supplied. About 1997, we moved over here to the building next door, and I'll take you over there too. And that's when God just totally, he used the man there. The man called me out of the blue. He's a man, a godly man that sits on a board here at a church here in town. And he just called me out of the blue and said, I want to rent to you and I want to help you get started. I didn't call him, he called me and opened the door. We went into the office there and we anointed the desk, anointed the office, and we claimed that this business was God's business and that we were going to be led, and we wanted him to lead us by his spirit, and we wanted to be not only tithers, but we wanted to plant seeds. We wanted to be obedient with whatever he had, because for the first time we were getting to a point of realizing that it wasn't our money, that it was God's money, that we weren't paying tithe and doing God a favor. We weren't helping God. We were being faithful and untying God's hands for God to be able to bless us and be able to use us to bless others. And he totally, at that time, from day one, the first week we moved in here, we made a profit. And her dad loaned us the $5,000 to move into the business that we're in today. And from that $5,000, God has blessed it. And it has grown from $5,000 borrowed to where now, instead of one business, we run four different businesses out there. We not only do wholesaling on cars, we do cars to the public that we retail. We also have gotten into the parts business and we sell parts. And we also have a full line recycling center. We buy everything from copper and brass and non-ferrous items to cars and trucks and tractors and trailers and all the ferrous materials. He's blessed us with a home, and that we're not 3 months behind on the payment. We're not having to worry about filing bankruptcy. Stuff at the office, through him teaching us to be a good steward and us not borrowing on everything, he has taught us to not be indebted to man and not be a slave to debt and be in bondage.
At Promised Land, we feel like we have just really made new family and new friends. And we have been truly blessed ever since we've started going there. From the day we walked in, we knew that that's where we were supposed to be. We were actually going to try Promised Land one week and try another church.
We were coming out of a church and we were asking God to show us where he wanted us to serve. Yeah. And we were planning on going to about 4 different churches. And we went to Promised Land and God said, this is where I want you. I want you to work here and serve here. I'm Willis.
And I'm Chris.
And we are all in.